Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular city council meeting for the City of Jacksonville Beach for September 16th. We will begin with our invocation followed by the salute to the flag, led by Mr. Jansen. Please rise.
Let's pray. Good and gracious Heavenly Father, as I lift my brother and sister up for prayer this evening, I just ask you that you show us a way to live our lives with purpose that fulfill your blessings. And Lord, I just ask you that you show us how to be mindful to others' needs. And Lord, rain down your blessings upon our first responders and our city as a whole. It's in the matchless name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I heard a really great pledge of allegiance out there. Who is that? I see you. Hi. Good job. This meeting is called to order. Madam Clerk, roll call. Councilmember Golding? Here. Councilmember Horn?
Here.
Councilmember Jansen?
Here.
Councilmember Meza?
Here.
Councilmember Sutton?
Here.
Councilmember Wagner?
Here.
Mayor Hoffman? Here. Moving on to approval of minutes, item A.
I move that we approve the minutes from the special city council meeting held on September 3rd, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item B.
I move that we approve the minutes from the city council meeting held on September 3rd, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C.
I move that we approve the minutes from the city council briefing held on September 9th, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Council announcements? Ooh, that was close. I'm giving it to Meza.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple comments, more of a celebration in Jacksonville Beach. Lynch's is having their 30th birthday celebration. It means a lot when there's businesses here that are celebrating 30 decades or 30 years of being in business. Taco Root had their Sweet 16 this year, I believe. A couple of salons have their birthdays as well, so it's good to have businesses here staying longer than a year or two, so it's really good, and my business turns 10 next March. The next celebration is a colleague of mine, Mr. Bill Horn, turns 43 tomorrow. 43, but we'll save the singing for another time. Happy birthday.
I like your math.
Ms. Golding.
Happy birthday, Mr. Horn. Thank you, Mayor. I have just a couple of announcements. Last week, I attended the QPR suicide prevention training that was sponsored by the City of Neptune Beach in memory of one of their employees who lost his life to suicide. And it was a really, really good training that was put on by Here Tomorrow, which we recognized them in our proclamation at the last council meeting, and just wanted to let my colleagues know that I shared the information with our HR director. She's looking into bringing that training in for our employees too. And so hopefully that will happen, and if that does, I would encourage my fellow council members to plan to attend, because it was a very, very good training. Just one little piece of information that I think is really important is that the way Here Tomorrow works is the people that are there, the peer support, are all people who have been there. And so they understand, what people are going through when they're thinking about taking their lives. And so the training was just really, really good. The only other announcement I had is I wanted to let everyone know that there will be a Jacks Beach Candidate Forum hosted by Beaches Watch on Thursday, September 26th at 7 p.m. at the Community Center, which is down next to Sunshine Park. And again, that's September 26th at 7 p.m. It'll be a really good chance for voters to meet and hear all of our Jacksonville Beach candidates that are running for office. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Golding, and Mr. Mesa stole my thunder. I was going to also congratulate Lynch's. Their 30th anniversary is on the 21st, but I think they will be celebrating all weekend, as they are known to do. So congratulations to Lynch's on their longevity within our community. And wanted to thank my colleagues who came out to support the Beaches Museum's Beach Legends event. It's our big gala event last Friday. If I look a little frazzled and worn out, that's why. Councilor Wagner, Sutton, and Horn were all there to show support, and I appreciate you guys being there. And we recognized some really great people in our community, so it was a lot of fun and raised a lot of money for the Beaches Museum. Seeing no more announcements, courtesy of the Florida visitors, I don't have any speaker cards. Okay, and then moving on to consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. And now we get to have a fun recognition of someone who literally sits right beside us, our city clerk, Sherry Goslin. So I'd like to invite, on my paper here, the Florida Association of City Clerks Northeast District Director, Lee Ann Williams. Please come up to the podium.
Thank you. Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members, council, city staff, and attendees, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. My name is Leanne Williams, the Florida Association of City Clerks Northeast District Director, and I am also the Deputy City Clerk of the City of Alachua. Joining me tonight are Kristen Bryant, City Clerk of the City of Gainesville, Diane Amendola, the Deputy City Clerk of the City of Alachua, Donna Myrtle of the City of Atlanta Beach, I've been told to say City Clerk, and we're glad to have all of them joining us tonight. It is with great pleasure that I appear here this evening and congratulate your city on the recent accomplishment of your city clerk, Sherry Goslin, upon receiving her certificate of municipal clerk, the CMC designation. Sherry began her journey in the city of Covina, I think that's right, Covina, California, when she was hired to work in the building department. From there, she became the department secretary, and then she became a code enforcement officer. In total, she worked 6 years while in California, and all of this before she came to Florida. Sherry then made her long trek across the country to the land of the free state of Florida, right here in Jacksonville Beach, where she was hired to be a payroll technician in 1995. She then moved to the planning department, where she spent the next 5 years as a permit specialist. Feeling fire under her feet, she then moved to the fire department, where she was the fire department administrative assistant, where she remained for the next 7 years. With all of this experience, Sherry set her eyes on the big chair. She moved up to be the assistant of the city manager, where she watched and she participated in city life for the next 6 years. Now that Sherry was in the manager's office, she knew 2 things. She knew she didn't want to be a city manager, and she knew that she wanted to be in the clerk's office. So Sherry became the deputy city clerk in August of 2018. 2 short years later, she became acting city clerk for 3 months, and then she was appointed to be clerk on August 17th, 2021. And she had been clerk for 3 years. Sherry, I think you might be the most interesting person in this room. What a career. Once she was in the clerk's office, she didn't let grass grow under her feet. As she took her first webinar only 2 months later, she began the road to CMC. She joined the International Institute of Municipal Clerk, the IIMC, and its partner, Florida Association of City Clerks, FACC, which are professional associations that promote continued education and certification through the University of College-Based Institute, which, speaking of the training she received from IIMC and FACC, Sherry replied, The training I received from FACC provided job-specific classes that helped me feel comfortable in my newly appointed position. It is difficult to find any job training related to elections, minutes, records, state statutes, etc. There are so many options for live webinars, records webinars, and conferences through FACC. Currently, of the 652 members of FACC, only 35% or 227 members have reached the Certified Municipal Clerk designation. To achieve the CMC designation, Sherry has attended 3 conferences and 2 webinars. This, plus her exceptional education, that Sherry has earned, she now has her CMC through the IIMC-approved Municipal Clerk Institute program conducted by the John Scott Daly Florida Institute of Government, Florida State University in Tallahassee. It should also be noted that this program provides 120 student-instructor contact hours, in-depth course in managerial and leadership skills, social and interpersonal concerns, and technical training needed to deal with challenges taking place in government today. The program aids municipal clerks in improving job performance and recognizes the professionalism of the municipal clerk office. Upon the completion of her CMC training, Sherry remarked, "I really enjoyed meeting other clerks and hearing their experiences. It helps to hear other people dealing with the same issues. The classes were extremely helpful." But this is just the first step. A true professional never rests on their success, but instead keeps reaching higher. The Master Municipal Clerk Academy was established to further the professional education of city clerks and to meet the challenges of the office. Academy members must demonstrate that they have actively engaged in educational and professional participation and keeps them current with their challenging events of the local government scene. It is quite a task considering that the daily challenges of the clerk's office, but I have no doubt that Sherry is up to the task. I would also like to take this opportunity to let this council know that FACC announced in February of this year of a new certification program that was launched through the Florida Institute of Government at the Florida State University. City clerks who have obtained their CMC designation can now acquire a Florida Certified Municipal Clerk certification. The mission of this program is to provide Florida municipal clerks with education, networking, and collaboration experiences to enhance their ability to serve as leaders in our Florida communities. Participants who successfully complete the entire 20-month of continuous, interactive, and professional instructions of this course will be awarded the official Florida Certificate Professional Clerk, or FCPC credential. Now that Sherry has earned her CMC, she can consider the work of this load as it is a prestigious credential for the next times that when classes are available, and they are only available every 20 months. Your city is now part of an elite group of professionals in local government, a group she could not have become part of without your commitment in supporting her efforts. On behalf of Florida Association of the City Clerks President, Board of Directors, and its mission members, the Florida Association of City Clerks Professional Education Committee, and the Northeast District, we are very proud of you. Please join me in congratulating your City Clerk, Sherry Goslin, and the City of Jacksonville Beach on her impressive accomplishment as one of our newest certified municipal clerks. Welcome. Sherry, if you and Mayor Hoffman would join at the podium. Do y'all have someone who will take pictures? Sherry, this certificate, display this certificate in recognition of the education and training you have received, and wear your pin as a symbol of pride at your dedication and professionalism.
If the other clerks in the room, as well as the ones that work with you, we would all like to get a picture together. Yes. And your commissioners. Or Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Sherry, I think it's safe to say we all already really appreciated you, and I appreciate you even more now that I've heard all that you've accomplished in your couple of short years as our city clerk. So thank you for that, and I think that your accomplishments and your leadership are best reflected in your team, and I think our city clerk's office is just a really outstanding group of individuals, especially as our kind of front lines to the public, since you're the first ones a lot of them see when they come into City Hall, and I appreciate you guys taking care with our citizens, businesses, our boards, the council. I don't know where we all rank on the,
Everybody, thank you so much for coming out and supporting me. It means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Okay, now back to our regular agenda. We will begin with item A, which is Dennis's. Go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Mayor and City Council, Dennis Barron, Director of Public Works. I have a couple of different items for you tonight. The first item is a consideration of a asset management maintenance service plan for our blowers at the water reclamation facility. We currently have 7 of those blowers. They are high dollar pieces of equipment. Earlier this year, we put the SBR blowers, which is a batch of 4 of the same similar blowers, onto the same kind of asset management plan. This gets us serviced by the APG Neuros Group, which is our recommended area service territory. They come out and help us make sure these items run as good as they're supposed to be running. They also provide us some warranty stuff so that in the event you have a catastrophic failure, they provide us costs back. If you remember back earlier this year, we had a catastrophic failure of a blower case, which warranted us for putting the first batch of blowers on. This is actually a continuation of the same process, adding the final 3 blowers that go to the digesters onto the same kind of a maintenance service plan.
Thank you, Mr. Barron, and a motion.
I move that we approve a 5-year agreement with APG Neuros Corporation for a maintenance service plan for the digester blowers for the water reclamation facility.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Number 2?
Second item I have, of course, Dennis Barron,
I'm sorry.
Public Works Director.
The second part of that same item. We just need a motion, right? To authorize the city mayor and city manager.
I move that we authorize the mayor and city manager to execute the final agreement.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Horn,
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen,
Yes.
Councilmember Meza,
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton,
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner,
Yes.
Councilmember Golding,
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman.
Yes, motion carries. Item B.
Okay. Our next item we have for you is we're actually coming back to request an influx of money for the professional services side for the chlorination conversion project. As part of this project, we've got several bullets that were outlined in the memo, of course, as to why we're doing this. Several of them which include some additional engineering work that was covered under this process, which then run to the point where we're deleting of funds when we're running out. We still got this project that's still going on at the wastewater plant. All the 2 water plants are up and running, and they're starting to get those finalized. We still got quite a bit of work left at the wastewater plant to be able to be finished, so we need an additional, it's $49,000 and change, so I rounded it up to $50,000 for being able to successfully fund the remainder of the engineering work needed for that project.
Thank you, and a motion?
I move that we approve a construction administration services increase with Dewberry Engineering for the chlorination elimination project for an amount not to exceed $50,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, Mr. Horn.
Sorry. Issues with the rebar / ties, issues with the piping ties, anchors, issues with the pumps and skids. It sounds silly when I say it, but I still have to say it because this is citizens' money. You trust that all these things this is necessary, this is what we have to do, and I know you wouldn't be here if you didn't, but I still feel compelled to ask you this because these are just kind of vague statements. It's like issues. We have issues. And so I just need $50,000 of taxpayer money for these issues. So this is all necessary, 100%?
100%. We did have an overflow in the area which held up construction on some stuff. We had, a lot of times we end up in a conversation between us and the contractor, and our engineer is there to help us to be able to solve some of those problems. So some of these, while they might be small, some of the re-engineering that had to be done that was not really covered in that CEI services part, we probably should have addressed it as a change order, and then we would have been in a different spot. But ultimately, we've gotten to this point where you need a change order to be able to continue and finish out the work.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Jansen?
Yes.
Councilmember Meza?
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding?
Yes.
Councilmember Horn?
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Barron. Item C, I will turn it over to City Attorney Liggett to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, this is an investigative report that was completed pursuant to our Code of Ethics. Just a quick background, in February of 2020, City Council adopted a Code of Ethics for public officials. It expresses standards of ethical conduct expected for all public officials, which includes elected officials, appointed officials, and members of our boards, commissions, and committees. Under part of that code, if any public official becomes aware of a potential conflict with the code, they shall reach out to their elected or appointed officials. In this instance, the mayor and multiple city council members were notified of a complaint. They brought it to the attention of the city manager and the city attorney. Pursuant to the ethics code, I have completed a written document, which is an investigative report detailing the facts of the potential conflict with the code. This matter is before you tonight for consideration. The complaint was filed by a resident against one of the members of our planning commission, Mr. Lerman. Mr. Lerman is a member of the planning commission that was appointed on May 16, 2022. I also just wanted to add one thing that wasn't in my report. While he became a regular member in May of 2022, he also served as an alternate since 2019. Just wanted to bring that up as well. In accordance with the Code of Ethics, it's up to you all to determine what action to take. Detailed in the report. If you choose to take an action, there are 4 potential options under Section W of the Code. I recommend that because this is the first time this has come to you due to the Sunshine Law, that instead of our typical fashion of making a motion before any discussion, I would recommend the board, after public comments, have some discussion before a motion. That's just a recommendation. You all can proceed however you want. The report is only fact-finding. It's up to you all to determine how to handle this under the code. With that, I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you. This matter is before the council for a public hearing and consideration pursuant to Section R of the city's Code of Ethics for Public Officials. I will now open the public hearing on this matter. Do we have any comment cards?
There are no speaker cards.
So we do not have any speaker cards. If anybody in the audience would like to speak, you're invited to the podium and you can give your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the council on this issue.
Hi, Justin Lerman. Good evening. I'm Justin Lerman. I'd like to address the recent complaint that you've all received. I understand the concerns raised about my communication and regret any misunderstandings. My intention was never to cause discomfort or escalate the situation. I asked my neighbor to contact me directly with any issues rather than involving the police, aiming to open communication and efficient problem solving. I now realize my approach may not have been received as intended, and I regret any confusion caused. I take my role as a community member seriously, and I deeply regret any strain this may have caused. While I believe the investigation didn't reveal any ethical issues on my part, it seems this may have been a misunderstanding or reaction to ongoing issues with the property. I respect my neighbor's right to voice concerns and committed to addressing any future issues constructively. In closing, I'm dedicated to being a positive and responsible community member. I appreciate the opportunity to clarify the situation, and I'm open to further discussion if there's any additional concerns. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lerman. Would anyone else like to address the council?
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Eric Brogdon. I'm the complainant, and I wish it wouldn't have happened as much as Mr. Lerman did, but it did. And after reading the report that I got from Mrs. Broche, my only concern is he has claimed that he had a run-in with me the day before on Saturday at his house of me taking pictures of him at his house, which is untrue. I don't never go to my mother's on Saturday. I always go to the market to get fresh fruits and vegetables. I went to the house after the interaction with him and right before the board meeting for his variance, and brought my mother out and showed her where everything was going to go, where the garage was going, how far out, and there was no reason to dispute what he was trying to do because he's within the guidance as far as I know. So that's my only concern, is this right here that I read in the report today at 5 o'clock. If I would have had more time, I just received the report on Thursday, and I've been out of town all weekend. That's my only concern. If you can make that as a note.
Thank you, Mr. Brogdon. Thank you
You're
for that
welcome.
clarification. Would anyone else like to address the council?
Good evening. My name is Debbie McAvoy. I'm Geneva's daughter. Also, there's discrepancy in his report also of me screaming and yelling at him, which never took place. And, you know, I'm at my mom's, I do her yard work, and I'm out of there. He has never apologized to her, but he wants to make it right. There's not been one apology. He just stated that he told my mom, she does have his phone number. She did not call the police, but the way he just said that was, she did call the police. She did not call the police that morning. I just have a problem with the way, tell the truth. You know, this is an 87-year-old woman, and she's just getting over having a heart attack, and he's banging on her door, asking her why she called the police. She did not call the police. You know, I just want y'all to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McAvoy. Would anyone else like to address council?
Hi, I'm Karen Ingram. I'm also her daughter. My only problem is in the investigative report is, you know, he's saying this about the cops, and the cops are saying, no, this didn't happen. So I just want to know who's lying here, him or the cops. So if we can straighten out all that in the report. If you're gonna be a part of commission, you need to be honest.
Thank you, Ms. Ingram. Anyone else? Okay. We will now close the public hearing, seeing no other speakers. As Mr. Vega indicated, we will begin with a discussion by council members a little bit out of our normal order. And then once we're finished with the discussion, see if there is a motion to be made. And so we'll go ahead and see if anyone on council would like to make a comment. Mr. Jansen.
I'll kick it off. Looking through the optics from a law enforcement standpoint, and reading the facts of the report given to us as it was, and reviewing the Ring camera video, I could not find any substantial, credible evidence that would lend itself to any kind of criminal misbehavior in that regard. As far as I'm concerned, my position on this would be no further action taken as far as the council is concerned, on my part. If there was some more substantial evidence there that would lean me one direction or another, then I would probably lean towards some other type of action. But the optics of what I'm used to seeing in the law enforcement arena, it's not there. There's not enough evidence there.
Thank you, Mr. Jansen. Mr. Sutton?
Having reviewed the report and the video, I think there's certainly interpretation there, and obviously Mr. Brogdon and Mr. Lehrman both have expressed remorse, and having handled the situation and letting it sort of escalated to where it did. Thank you, Mr. Brogdon, for being here, and your sisters as well for speaking. We all grew up around the corner from each other, and appreciate y'all being here. As far as Mr. Lehrman, I'll speak from the standpoint of having been chair of the Planning Commission. His carrying out of his duties on the Planning Commission was nothing but exemplary, and always did a good job. So, I think Mr. Lehrman is certainly a valued member of the Planning Commission, and I don't know of anything, and obviously that's not in question anyway, but in any regard of his, conduct, this certainly strikes me as being out of the ordinary, but situations can become inflamed, and obviously it did in this situation. So, some of the things that were said and the way he handled it, Justin, I'm disappointed in. But I would, similar with Mr. Jansen, I would recommend, possibly a verbal reprimand, as I've already given Justin, or something to that effect. But
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. Mr. Horn?
I just want to say, I can only speak for myself. I sold a long time ago when I came on council. I can't speak for the council. I can't speak for the city in certain situations, but I will say to the Brogdon, McAvoy, Ingrams, I will apologize on behalf of,
Thank you.
because that's one thing you guys deserve at this point. It shouldn't have gotten
Thank
here. And, from my situation, I apologize. I'm sorry this got to this point, and we appreciate you guys, unfortunately going through this, but.
Yeah. Something that I didn't say as well is.
Unfortunately, the public hearing is closed. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mr. Brogdon. And you can certainly follow up with us after we're done with our deliberation. Ms. Golding?
Thank you. So I do thank Justin for coming out and providing your comments, and the Brogdon family for coming out as well. I looked at this, and we have the Code of Ethics for a reason, because we should be holding ourselves to a very high standard when it comes to how we conduct ourselves, whether it's us city council members or board members. And, one of the things that the section in question said, it says that we should be above reproach. And I looked that up, and that's defined as impossible to discredit without blemish. And I would just say that after reviewing the Ring video camera, there were a few things that were disappointing and concerning to me. In particular, besides the assumption that Ms. Brogdon was the one who called the police, which, that I really feel that shouldn't have happened, and I hope Mr. Lehrman realizes that. But the other thing that concerned me was that he asked her to let him know if she had any issues, and it was hard to hear, but she brought up that she had concerns about the height of the grass, and that she had seen a snake in her yard, and, so Mr. Lehrman had requested for her input, and she did provide it, and it was disappointing to me that I felt that he did not adequately handle her input, and his comment actually was that he could have the grass as high as he wants it to be. And our municipal code does limit the height of grass to 10 inches or less. I mean, it's a nuisance. It's part of our nuisance code. So, and the comment about if you want to live in an HOA, you should move to an HOA was concerning as well. Like Mr. Sutton, I feel that this was not a very good situation, not becoming of Mr. Lehrman, and I would also support a verbal reprimand, because I do believe that that we need to be very, again, hold ourselves to a high standard when we're interacting with people in the community when we serve on a board. The only other thing I would mention too, just in the Brogdon's defense, I looked this up, and I don't know if my fellow council members know this, but the house on the other side of Ms. Brogdon was the house that was involved in the gang bust that occurred, where there were 14 guns seized and 40 people were at the house. And so I understand the sensitivity that the neighbors have towards vacation rentals. My hope would be that Mr. Lehrman could show them that they can have a vacation rental in the neighborhood and it be a good experience and not anything like what they had. I mean, God forbid, I would not want to have had that situation happen in my neighborhood. So in their defense, I certainly encourage Mr. Lehrman to be sensitive to that. But again, my feeling is that I would support a verbal reprimand.
Thank you, Ms. Golding. Mr. Wagner.
So I want to start by thanking Eric, you for reaching out to us and giving us an opportunity to speak. I think it was a heartfelt conversation. I really appreciated the opportunity. I know everybody's gone through an experience that's probably less than their favorite experience. And so I'm sorry that things happened the way they did and unfolded the way they did, and everybody's somewhat impacted by it in different ways. Very similar to Councilor Sutton and Vice Mayor Golden, I do think that that there is an opportunity to at least mention it could have been. I'm sure you feel like I've had my own experiences in life where I wish I could have done it over, so we all have those, but this is one of those. And there were a series of things that I really hope, because I've heard really great things about you. I really hope you've had a chance to internalize and think through some of these things. And this is the beaches. We don't tell our locals to leave, and we don't, and I'm not even gonna go on the fact that my mom's the same age, and I'd be hard pressed to deal with some of that same interaction. So, and I know that that's neither here nor there, and that's just kind of the way I look at that. And when we think about being beyond reproach, it's a hard standard.
I don't know that any of us actually can be that standard, but we really have to try really hard each day. And we have to remember that for those of us that much has been given, much is expected. And so, with that, I'll retire my comment.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Mr. Mesa?
This is the first. To the Brogdon family, I do want to say I am sorry. I do know Taylor Brogdon and her older sister from our younger days, very good individuals. It's unfortunate when stuff like this happens, whether it's an elected official or an appointed official, things get out of hand. It's very unfortunate. It's never good. I do support a verbal reprimand, and I'm hoping that the lesson that is learned from all parties, and including us on council and the city, is this is a lesson learned, and moving forward, I think this is something that board members, council members maybe should learn from it, and something that can't happen again, and if it could be prevented. So I'm very sorry, and either way, thank you guys.
Anybody else? I think everyone spoke. Thank you all for your attention to this matter. This is my first time dealing with an issue like this, and as you've heard, the Code of Ethics has only been in place since 2020. So I think it is important that we go through this process, and I appreciate everyone actively participating in the investigation, and to our staff that managed that. And it is a collection of everyone's version of events, and we understand that there may be 2 or 3 sides to every story, and everybody's version of events may be slightly different. So I think that we all can consider that as we read through this. So it's an unfortunate situation. There's clearly some existing tension here that a match was thrown in on this particular date, and I think it sounds like we're all very sad that this happened, because we need to try to be good neighbors, and we need to be supportive of each other and recognize that we are all living in this community together, and those of us that are in appointed and elected positions are held to a higher standard, and that's what's reflected in this hearing today. So it sounds like there might be some desire to have a motion to present a recommendation for a verbal reprimand. Is that what you'd like to do, Ms. Golding? If you want to go ahead and make that motion.
I move that we issue a verbal reprimand.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a verbal reprimand. Are there any comments or questions from council? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Meza?
Yes.
Councilmember Sutton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding?
Yes.
Councilmember Horn?
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen?
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman?
Yes, motion carries. Now, when and how is that verbal reprimand given, despite Mr. Sutton already handing one down? That is not detailed in the code, so I'm going to confer briefly with our city attorney, because I think that's something that we could do now. I'm just going to consult on wording.
Thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned, it's not in the code. I think if there's no further action, which, again, I'm not making a recommendation, I'm just giving you my thoughts, that passing that motion would act as the verbal reprimand, but if any member of council thinks maybe you need to collect your thoughts and bring them back at a future meeting and request that the Mr. Lerman come back to hear the verbal reprimand, that could be a motion. And if a majority of the board passes it, that would be the action. So you can take further action if you deem necessary, but I think if no further action is taken, I think the motion I just approved serves as the verbal reprimand. It's up to the discretion of the majority of the council. Thank you.
Do any council members feel differently?
I generally agree. I think Justin gets the gist of it. So there's no need to drag anybody through further. I mentioned before, as a councilman and as the chair, former chair with you on the planning commission, I'm disappointed. Your behavior, I think, was unacceptable, and would expect that to not occur in the future.
Mr. Mesa?
I just have a question for Mr. Megan. I know we have this on the code, but do we have anything else in the code if, let's say, same person, verbal reprimand, second time? Is this something that we as council decide if something was to happen again by the same individual, or, just?
Council member, the code doesn't get into specificity as to future offenses, because it's a second or subsequent offense, if there's more punishment. But the 4 punishments allowable under the code would be verbal reprimand, written reprimand, suspension, or forfeiture of the position. So that would be up, if something did come forward again, any of those 4 items would be available to council under the ethics code.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from council? I do agree. I think Mr. Lerman has probably learned a lot from this experience, and I would like to feel confident that this is the last time we will see you in this type of a matter. Thank you. Thank you all to the Brogdon family for bringing this to our attention in a respectful way, and I think that you guys did a really good job. Again, participating with the investigation and making sure that we had as much information as we could and as we needed to make the decision and have this hearing. So encourage you guys all, go out, be good neighbors, be good people, be good Jax Beach residents, and we appreciate you being here. We have one more item on our agenda today. Let's get to it. Ms. Nelson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Karen Nelson, Deputy City Manager. Resolution number 2177-2024 seeks to amend the position classification and pay plan by adding a construction project superintendent in pay grade 324, adding that position to the pay plan and also to the list of positions eligible for an automobile allowance. This position has been approved in the 2025 budget that you all just approved tonight. It is a public works position, but funding for this position will be split between the CRA and the public works utilities. This is just a formality to add it actually to the position classification and pay plan. This resolution will also make some changes to the qualified advancement schedule within the position classification and pay plan. For public works, just to change the criteria for 4 of the positions that were already existing in the qualified advancement. For planning and development, we are seeking to add two tiers within that qualified advancement for permit specialist and planner. And for finance, property and procurement, we would like to add 2 additional tiers for the building maintenance mechanic. So there would be a building maintenance mechanic 1, 2, and 3, whereas right now we only have 1. None of these positions would mean an increase in the total number of authorized positions. This would simply provide an internal career path for those employees who are currently in those positions to be able to meet the criteria to move up and advance through the tier. With that, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have, along with the department heads for each of these.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Madam Clerk, will you read the resolution by title, please?
A resolution of the City of Jacksonville Beach, Florida, amending its position classification and pay plan, providing for adoption of recitals, adoption of the plan, repeal of prior inconsistent resolutions, severability, and an effective date.
And a motion, please?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2177-2024, amending the position classification and pay plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Hanson.
Quick question. On the title is construction supervisor. The position is being funded half by the CRA and half by the city. Is that individual's responsibility split between the CRA and the rest of the city, or is he focused on the downtown only?
The funding is split 45% to the downtown CRA and 5% to South End CRA, and then 45% to the water and sewer utility and 5% to the stormwater. So the intent of the position is to spend the majority of 45% of the time in water and sewer and 45% of the time in downtown CRA. with the remaining 5% to the other, the South End and the stormwater utility. And yes, that's how the time will be spent within that position.
Any other questions or comments from council? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Councilmember Sutton?
Yes.
Councilmember Wagner?
Yes.
Councilmember Golding?
Yes.
Councilmember Horn?
Yes.
Councilmember Jansen?
Yes.
Councilmember Mesa?
Yes.
Mayor Hoffman?
Yes, motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.